Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is the third and final game here between Adel and Jimpo. This time we're on the map Metalopolis. Adel spawning in the 9 o'clock spawn location as our orange Protoss player. And then over here in the 3 o'clock, we've got Jimpo as the pink Terran player. So yes, this is the third game here, and it will of course be the final, as this is a best-of-3 series. And last game, oh, Jimpo, why, my friend, why did you not scout? Like, at all. It was so frustrating to see the fact that Jimpo just did not know for the longest time that Adel had a third. And then by the time he scouted Adel's third, Adel moved right into a fourth, and Jimpo just didn't know about it until he eventually dropped a few minutes later. But again, at that point, it was way too late. And it just goes to show you, ladies and gentlemen, how much of an advantage a strong economy gives you in this game, as Adel was a full tier of upgrades above Jimpo. Jimpo was just starting his 3-3 upgrades as Jimpo was just starting his 3-3 upgrades as Adel was finished his. So that huge advantage really helped Adel. In addition to that, not only was Jimpo behind in the number of expansions that he had, but we saw Adel effectively take out the third, firstly pushing with a small force and doing a little bit of damage to it, getting it down to about 2/3 HP. And then immediately following up with a second push in which he just swarmed it and dropped to the expansion just in an instant. One of the huge things that he did during that as well was he was able to drop some force fields into, unfortunately, a small choke point for Jimpo, and Jimpo wasn't able to defend at all. He couldn't get past the force fields, and by the time those dropped, his expansion was gone, and the game was pretty much lost at that point. We saw him try some drops, and none of them actually did too much damage. Adel was able to effectively defend against it. So there you go. Game number 2 going to Adel. Now Jimpo scouting out the 12 o'clock position, realizing that Adel is not there. Jimpo will be now moving down to the lower left-hand position. I think I keep messing up their names. I don't know what it is. It's not a huge deal. Is it? Yes, it is. It's actually a gigantic deal. Force, you were terrible. It's all right. One Zealot coming out here, and we do have the Cybernetics Core coming on through, and Adel could very well be going for that same style of opening, as we are not seeing a second gas. But obviously, there's nothing we can tell until that Cybernetics Core is in fact finished. Let's take a look at what Jimpo is doing. Getting 2 racks very early on, down to just 2 workers here on that refinery. I have to assume, of course, that that is intentional. He'll be coming out with a reactor early on, so it looks like it will be actually a 2 racks into expand. And again, with only 2 guys on the gas, it'll give him enough gas to likely come out with a tech lab and start working out some marauders and possibly even concussive shells. But other than that, he wants to make sure that he's got that extra SCV to get some extra minerals out a little bit earlier so that he can get that expansion a little bit sooner. Here come those double Marines, and there's that tech lab right down there on the second racks. We got 1 Marine. We'll be actually preventing the probe from making it on up. Very nice lifting up those depots. Probe does make it back though before it loses its life to that Marine. And here it is, 1 gate expand from Adel. So much as expected, that is in fact what he decided to do. And we're going to see some continuation of sentries. We probably should see about 2 or 3. That's going to be my assumption, as utilizing those sentries early on is a really great way to defend yourself when you go for a quick expansion. And there we go. Hey, look, Jimpo decides, hey, you know what? I actually do like scouting, so let me do that with this SCV. And he scouts the expansion, which is beautiful. And let's see if he plans to do anything with this. He's actually starting to mass up the units here. Come out with that concussive shell as well, and that SCV is really sitting dangerously close there, so that's why I'm led to believe that he may actually be trying something. We've got 1 Zealot over here for Adel sitting with control of that tower. Now, and actually I like that positioning of the Zealot because the Marine can't see it in that position. The Zealot is just out of the vision there from that tower over there. But here it comes right now. Push. Jimpo moving out with a couple SCVs. He's got a few Marauders in the mix. What do we got? 2 Marauders, 9 Marines, and a bunch of SCVs. That sounds like a bad joke. Jimpo building the bunker right out front of the expansion, and all of a sudden things are looking a little bit scary here for Adel. He is going for that exact same style of opening, getting that forge early on, getting a robotics. And the bunker finishes, and Adel has gotten no response to it. So those Marines are going to be filling that up. Here comes a second bunker, at least attempting to. SCV, one of them gets sniped. Going to be continuing to try to drop those SCVs onto. Look at him just canceling that. Jimpo is not really dead set in what he is doing here. He's going to be moving forward and starting to do some damage now. We got a photon cannon coming on down. There's that second bunker. That's much better placement there, Jimpo. Good job, my friend. We got a couple more Zealots coming out, and the more and more Zealots that come into play, the more difficult this is going to be for Jimpo, as he does lack that Stimpack research. Pulling back to the safety of the one bunker, though. If this bunker gets up, we're all of a sudden really concerned here for Adel's expansion. Jimpo is going to keep up this aggression pretty consistently here. Now, if you have that cannon finishing, that's going to help him quite a bit. But again, that bunker is now up, so he can get a couple Marauders in there and start to lay waste here to this Nexus. And actually going to be filling that up with Marines. And look at this. Watch those shields drop very quickly. Those 4 Marines with that extra range inside of that bunker. This is really scary here for Adel. Is he going to be able to defend against this? I do not think. The answer to that question is going to be a yes, and Adel's actually moving out with those Stalkers, and he may be planning a counterattack as we have a proxy pylon over here. Actually, no, he's trying to cut off some reinforcements, but again, he is going to be losing this expansion, so some very nice early aggression here from Jimpo. Very, very nice indeed. We got those Stalkers continuing to move. They're grabbing the tower. And is it going to be a counterattack? Now, we've got an expansion coming out over here for Jimpo. And we see that Nexus get lower and lower. We got another cannon attempt to being placed down over here. And we got another gateway actually coming out for Adel. But Adel doesn't look to really have much of a response at all. And he does lose the Nexus. Nothing he can do about it. He just doesn't have the proper amount of units. And there you go, the Nexus gets taken out, and Jimpo's aggression, very effective. This is the point in the game where you just leave. Not leave the game, but leave this offensive position. It's time for him to head back home, make sure he can defend against any counter aggression, and he will pretty much be a guaranteed win here. Oh, he's going to try to make it up in the main. That is a mistake here. He has to realize he's dealing with sentries, and he's not going to be able to make it up. And actually, we're going to be seeing Adel hightail it back here. We should just be seeing another sentry warp in. Why is that gateway not turning into a warp gate right now? What is going on? Is this amateur hour? That was really late. He should have been able to get in another sentry in time to prevent that from actually happening. I'm very, very shocked. Now we get that bio moving around. Stimpack still not in play. He's going to be trying to utilize those concussive shells against these zealots here, so they try to get closer and closer. And there we go, finally able to catch him with the bio and overwhelm it. But jeez, crow, that was a little bit sad, to be quite frank with you guys. All right, so we do have, taking a look at the resources lost tab, Adel is behind as expected, and losing that expansion was obviously huge. There we go, being able to salvage that bunker. I don't know why that took so long to do. Should have probably done that while he was in the main base, but anyways, that's enough about that. Level 1 armor upgrades now finally coming out for Adel. I'm sure he's been waiting for that for quite a while. We will be seeing an attempted counterattack here, but Jimpo does almost have that stim pack research. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but a couple sentries actually walking right by. Oh, that is bad. That is really bad. It's forced to drop some force fields. I'll let the Stalkers catch up. Those sentries, they just were in the wrong place at the wrong time. He really does need to do some damage, though, because he realizes he's pretty significantly behind. We get the expansion up and running right now for Jimpo. Going to have the bio actually move on up, and the sentries caught out of position, and he loses both of them. And Adel's going to try to move up here with the rest of his forces. There we go, finally grouping up his forces. That's what he's been wanting to do for quite a while. Zealot's now moving in to try to make things a little more difficult here for this bio, forcing them all the way back now, and finally Adel looks to be in a positive, aggressive stance here. You can see those Stalkers target fire down. One of them gets dropped. However, those last 2 Marauders get taken out before we can do anything else. And Jimpo forced a liftoff. What is going on this game? This is the weirdest professional level game I've ever seen. Jimpo now forced to lift off as the counter aggression here from Adel proves to be a little bit too... See, this is exactly what I was talking about. Oh, man, Jimpo. See, now, had Jimpo... He had a large mass of bio here. And when he took out the expansion, he should have gone straight home. Should have just gone straight home. Had he done that, he would have prevented this counterattack from doing any damage, and he would have maintained a huge lead. But instead, he tried to waltz his way up into the main. He ends up getting trapped. Just a couple more reinforcement warp-ins. Even with a gateway that was sitting not a warp gate for quite a while, he was still pretty much overwhelmed. Now again, Jimpo takes out the expansion. If he goes back home, he prevents his counterattack from doing any damage, and isn't forced to lift off that orbital command as he tries to build up his forces, which is exactly what he's doing now. He's got that Ghost Academy coming out, and he would be in a much better position. Now all of a sudden Adel isn't as far behind. Yes, of course, he has to launch all his resources, and he did have his expansion delayed, but the fact that he forced that liftoff is a huge, huge boon for Adel, and Adel actually now coming out with a 3rd even, and all of a sudden now I'm scared for Jimpo. Oh man, Jimpo, you had the game in the bag. What are you doing? I really hope Jimpo doesn't lose this game, because I will be eternally sad. That's right, for the rest of eternity, I will be sad. It's super emo, isn't it, Force? Yeah, quite a bit. All right, charge upgrades coming out here for the Zealots. Adel also coming out with those level 2 armor upgrades. Going to be chrono boosting that on through right now. And again, very notably, he does have this third base up and running. We get those Marines. We'll be moving on over to take out that pylon. Jimpo does still intend clearly on staying on 2 bases. He's got a lot of racks to work with here off the 1. And again, that Ghost Academy will be helping him churn out some Ghosts to help with some EMPs. We got 3 Ghosts in play. Factory now down. We want to see that starport right now as well. There it is, and here comes that reactor. So we will expect that hot swap for those double medevacs. That's, of course, exactly what you expect from a Terran player in a TVZ matchup. Given the fact that you see Bio-Heavy, that's going to happen. There's really no question about that. Couple more refineries getting down as he prepares to make his transition into some medevacs, but now it's time for a push. We're going to see Jimpo move out across the map, and here is his chance to redeem himself. He's really got to capitalize on this push right now, and he has to do some damage. I mean, again, he's not necessarily super behind right now, but he was very far ahead, and he really kind of threw that away in keeping his units there and losing them. So there we go, stimming up. Here come the EMPs. Charge Zealots swooping forward, though, and that Bio is just sitting there and just taking the damage from the Zealots. Apparently, he does not feel like microing at all. And he just lost a lot now. He's still got quite a significant amount left. And keep in mind, the longer this fight goes on, the more and more damage that stim is going to do for him as he continues to be forced to redo it. And there you go. Adel is now forcing Jimpo back. And he needs to stim up again or else he's going to be losing his life here to these Zealots. And Adel's counterattack is coming now. We're going to see a counterattack from Adel. We should be. Maybe not, actually. He doesn't have a proxy pylon over here, so he can't really reinforce that well. Here comes a probe to drop that said proxy pylon and allow him to do this aggression. Now, I do expect him to check that third. That's what any good player would do, and it looks like that is going to be happening because he should expect a third, and if he doesn't see one, then he's like, hey, oh, great! I won the game. That's awesome. Adel dropping a proxy pylon over here. The Marine is fully aware of that. He checks the third, and he laughs just like I did. He says, oh, great! I just won the game. No problem. I mean, that is... Oh, Jimpo. Oh, you're killing me, my friend. You were killing me. All right, the medevac's now in play. Jimpo making his way into that higher tech. He does also have an armory coming out. That's going to allow him to work up into 2-2 upgrades as he is just now working out his 1-1 upgrades. We got 2 armor upgrades already finished here for Adel, and yet again, we're going to see a huge upgraded advantage going to Adel, which is going to help him pretty much overwhelm Jimpo right now. I do not see Jimpo standing a chance at all. Let's take a look at the army size. Almost twice the army count, 72 as opposed to 48. Okay, maybe that's only about 2/3 more. But still, just saying, Jimpo is kind of screwed right now. Charge Zealots move forward, forcing the liftoff. All the SCVs could be fodder against those Zealots, but he decides to pull back because he doesn't want to take that range damage there. He's going to wait until he can get a couple more warp-ins of units. And again, he's got that third up and running. He's got a beautiful economy, and Jimpo's economy is really not looking too good in comparison. More and more Zealots coming in. Level 1 weapons upgrade. Once that finishes, prepare to see this push and prepare to see Adel just swamp over Jimpo. And Jimpo doesn't stand a chance. Here we go. This is the end of the game. Forcing the liftoff. Here come the charge as well. It's a couple of Guardian Shields helping a lot. Apparently, he does not want to target fire down those sentries. And those Guardian Shields are making those Zealots much more robust. They already have that armor upgrade. But plus Guardian Shield, there it is. The G from Jimpo. Ugh, that kind of hurt. Adel opened up this game 1 gate into expand and then moved into the forge. Same thing we saw him do in games 1 and 2. However, he was up against Jimpo, opening up with a 2 racks bunker aggression. Now this actually proved to be very, very effective for Jimpo as he was able to get up this second bunker, which allowed his Marines the range and safety to take out this Nexus. This was a huge, huge early game advantage for Jimpo. It was after he destroyed the Nexus that things started to go south for Jimpo. Instead of retreating like he very well should have, he decided to attempt to push into the main base of Adel, and that proved to be a problem because, as expected, he lost his units, and after that, dealing with a counterattack from Adel set him behind. After mopping up Jimpo's forces in his main, Adel then pushed out for this counterattack, and what this allowed him to do was actually force the liftoff of Jimpo's natural expansion. Now at the same time, Adel dropped his natural, so although Adel should have in all respects been quite a bit behind, he actually managed to even things up right here. After forcing the liftoff of Jimpo's expansion, Adel worked his way up into Charge Zealots as well as continuously churning out those upgrades. He also then moved into his 3rd expansion, giving him an economic advantage once it was up and running. Jimpo attempted a counterattack to get himself back in the game. Unfortunately, he was up against mass charge zealots with 2 armor upgrades, and that was not enough, even with some EMPs, to deal with him. They're just way too massive and hardy, and also with a little bit of lack of micro sticking in that zealot fire, just lost way too much bio, and this counterattack for Jimpo was more or less ineffective. All right, my friends, that was the third and final game here between Adel and Jimpo, and that is going to do it. Series does go to Adel. After losing the first game, he wins the next 2 pretty much without question. All right, guys, I thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you have enjoyed the content. If you do, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out tremendously. Thanks again, guys. As always, keep watching and keep owning. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Can't even talk. That was a good game, I guess.